Crowdsourcing Love is brought to you by First Rounds on Me. First Rounds on Me is a dating app that I love that encourages you to actually go out on dates so you can create a real, genuine connection in person rather than trying to through your phone screen. First Rounds on Me is great because it cuts out all the small talk and helps plan your first date. You can only have one date per day, and you can only chat with your date 12 hours before your date starts. No more pen pals, go out and get to know someone in person. Lately, I've been meeting a ton of people new to New York City, and they keep asking me which dating app they should download. And I tell everybody to download First Rounds on Me because it's just so efficient. Everyone's busy in New York City, it's about to be summer, and no one has time to just sit on their phones and message back and forth a million times. So, download First Rounds on Me by going to the App Store or by clicking the link in the description below. Hello and welcome back to Crowdsourcing Love. I'm your host, Marin from lifeofmarinnyc. This week I've been pushing myself to consistently go on the dating apps and get myself back out there. One prompt that's been working really well for me is a life goal of mine, which I responded to be interviewed by Oprah. I have to say the men are loving that one and they're responding to it with really interesting questions, and they're asking me on dates very quickly based upon that prompt. It's a little bit, egotistical. It's a little bit overconfident, but you gotta play the game. This week on the podcast, I have Shannon McNamara of Fluently Forward. Fluently Forward is a top celebrity blind items and conspiracy theories podcast that offers a witty, fresh take on pop culture. In this episode, we turn the spotlight on Shannon, and she discusses how her ex-boyfriend fell out of love with her, how she overcame that painful breakup, the time she accidentally dated a married man, and the difference between dating men and women. Enjoy the episode. If you do have a few extra minutes, please rate, review, and subscribe. It means a ton. Welcome back to Crowdsourcing Love. I'm Life of Marin, and I have Shannon here from Fluently Forward. Can you tell me about where you started? I know that you're a big TikTok star, you're a big blind items girl, you're a bit of a conspiracy theorist here and there.
Full-fledged.
Love it. So just tell me about your start, because I know you went super viral on TikTok and now you're a major podcaster. Really impressive. So do you mind just giving us some context?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like so many people have this starting story where you got on TikTok during COVID and nothing really happened. I would make TikToks about dating, trying to find Jeffrey Epstein, the typical things like that.
Yes.
And then I remember there was I've always read blind items on those different gossip sites. And there was a blind item about Addison Rae.
Okay.
And I remember making a TikTok about it because I was like, oh, how crazy that they're doing blind items on TikTokers now. And I thought everyone would be like, yeah, that's crazy. And instead they were like, what the hell is a blind item? What is this website?
Oh, really?
crazydaysandnights.net.
Yep.
What is this whole world of gossip? So then that led to me kind of explaining what blind items were, I guess, to a Gen Z or a younger audience. And then kind of talking about some of the blind item lore. Because if you're someone who isn't into blind items, you are not talking about the whole Justin and Selena doing drugs and Hillsong celebrity cult church and
Yep.
who's yachting, who's going to Dubai to get shit on, who's I don't know, bearding. It's this whole
Wait,
kind of
what's bearding?
Bearding is when somebody's gay in Hollywood,
Oh, yeah,
but they're
yeah.
closeting, so they pair up with someone and that relationship is
Totally.
bearding.
Okay. Yep.
So anyway, so I just started making videos about that, which I am now slowly deleting from TikTok because I just think a lot of people weren't media literate enough to understand that these are blind items. This isn't sometimes they come true, sometimes they don't. Just think of it as fun. And instead I think some people would be like, Bella Hadid, are you selling your ass in Dubai? And it's oh my God, calm down, guys.
So it's more lore, like you said, it's speculative.
Yeah, sometimes stuff comes true. Blind items were how I found out about all the Kevin Spacey allegations, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, even the allegations of Ellen being mean before it came out. Blind items to me, when something comes out and you're talking with girlfriends over drinks and you're like, can you believe this happened? And one friend goes, oh my God, everyone in LA already knew that. It was an open secret. A lot of these blind items are LA open secrets, but also some of them are fan fiction and totally wrong. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And so do you ever get contacted directly by the celebrities to like
No.
kind of say that's not true, or they're like, yeah, you're right, like you're spot on? Have you ever been contacted?
No, I don't think I would be.
Okay.
I've been like subtweeted. That kid Artie from Glee did not like my videos, so
no.
he tweeted about that.
Okay.
But no, that's about it.
I wonder in the future if you just keep getting bigger and bigger. I feel like eventually you're gonna like start becoming friends with these celebrities.
I think enemies more than
Frenemies,
friends.
maybe.
Maybe
it
a
could be
frenemy.
mutually beneficial. Like, you know what I mean? You get like big enough and people have to start, you know, being nice to you.
Who knows? You know, I think they would be, so like NT and Dumois are the ones who create the blind items.
Yep.
So I'm sure that like celebrities have reached out, and we've had NT on the podcast a few times, who writes most of them.
Okay.
And he's talked about, who is that guy, Food God, who's friends with the Kardashians.
Yes,
like
yep.
he will submit his own blind items, so then that way he'll be talked about more.
Totally.
So he's got like funny stories about that.
So did NT show you his identity? Like, do you know who NT is openly?
No, but I think he's hot.
Oh, really? Did you see him? Did you see his face?
No, I'm always talking to like a black square
Oh,
and just like looking at,
interesting.
which is great because then I can just look at myself on camera. I don't have to pretend to look at the
Totally.
other person.
You know what's interesting about you? You're the only one who's talking about blind items and showing your face.
I guess so. I think there's other TikTokers now
Okay.
who are doing it too.
Mhm.
But yeah, I will say anonymous is a good idea. If I could go back in time, maybe I
Would
would have
you?
done. I don't know. I think it's I think morally you should. If you're posting photos of celebrities and talking about them, then you also have to be open to having people criticize your appearance
would
and say
agree.
nasty things about you. I just
Mhm.
think, you know, my moral code may be gray, but at least it's kind of consistent like that.
Yep.
But then again, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know. I think you have a good face, and I'm glad that it's out there for everyone to see. Okay, so going into dating, because this is a dating podcast, how long have you lived in New York, and can you tell me about your experience dating here?
Ooh, okay. I've lived here for 5 years,
Okay.
and dating here is fun but crazy, you know?
Say more.
It's just like, I mean, you know,
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like between both of us, we've dated like maybe
Half the
2% of the city.
Yeah.
I've-
Okay, 2%. I'm like 50%, totally.
I mean, I've dated a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever think about it too in terms of cocktails? I'm like, I've had so many drinks
Oh.
like throughout all of these dates.
I should honestly count that. Like, there's been a lot of cocktails.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've not paid for most of them. But, you know, have you? Like, what's your
My
what's your
liver
take
is
on-
paying for them,
Yeah,
I
my
guess.
liver and my like genes, because, you know, as I fluctuate,
Yeah.
I like, you know, if I have too many cocktails, I have to go up in a gene size.
Yeah.
So have you ever dated and then had a boyfriend in the city?
Yeah, I've had 2 boyfriends in the city.
Okay, and were they
Yeah.
both long term, or what did those relationships look like?
One was like 6 months ish. I think it
Mhm.
was one of those, you know, sometimes I think like a lot of us had a relationship where like you kind of paired up during COVID.
Okay, yeah.
And then once like it was ready to like take the masks off, you were like, I don't know if we like are even compatible whatsoever.
Totally. You just clung to each other during the crisis.
Yeah. And like
Yeah.
I don't regret it. He was
Mhm.
a great guy. He'll be so much better for someone else.
Totally.
And then my last relationship was like 1.5 years, and that was pretty serious.
Okay. And were they finance bros? What were their backgrounds?
They both worked in finance. It's like
They
you throw a
did?
stone and you hit like 9 finance guys in like a Patagonia right now.
Honestly, New York, like that, everyone kept asking me because my 28 dates in February went super viral globally, and everyone like was like basically down talking me, being like, she only goes for finance guys, she wants like a rich guy, and I'm like, we're in New York City, like
Yeah.
it's proximity.
It's like a finance guy, a consultant guy,
Mhm.
a lawyer guy, and they're all so busy. Like
They're booked and busy.
they're all so like, oh, like I'm so busy. I'm like, I'd love to find a guy in New York who's like not that busy.
I feel like maybe some actors. Have
I-
you dabbled in that scene at all with dating?
No, I've dated a few musicians, but
How was that?
actors not great.
Yeah.
It's just like musicians are always, their life is like a struggle, you know?
Mhm.
So like they're always struggling with
Totally.
something. And then also and I want to talk about the comedian, but like these people who their job is late at night, I feel like you end up getting resentful because you're like, okay, I'm working a 9 to 5. I'm staying with you. You're breaking down your stuff afterwards. You're hanging out. I'm then tired and grouchy the next day. Like, it's just hard when your lives aren't similar like that.
So do you think like a musician should date like a musician and a comedian should date a comedian?
Just someone with the same like work hours. So a musician could date a comedian.
Oh.
Right? Because then they could go on like those, I don't know, morning dates or have a date like all day Tuesday because they work the weekends. Whereas with other people, right, you're like, okay, I have my weekends free for a date. And they're like, my job is on the weekends.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that like being completely out of balance.
Yeah.
So you talked about a relationship that was like a year and a half. Can you tell me a little bit more about that as much as you're comfortable with? Because I know that you recently created a breakup guide.
Yeah.
And I want to hear more about that because a lot of my followers have asked about like breakup tips, etc. And I just feel like you're the queen because you just created this ebook.
I have to send it to you, by the way. I'll send it to you.
Okay, because I actually need it because I just broke up with a comedian.
Yeah, so you could test it out. It was basically like, I think I just reached a point in my life where the past relationship I was in, I kind of thought we were going to get married. Like we talked about it. It seemed very serious. I really had like no notes on the relationship. I was like, it's great. But I think he got busy or just fell out of love with me or something like that.
Yeah.
Something painful where like, I think us, girls will know if you're in a relationship and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, it was great for a year, but like, why am I now anxious around them? Like, why are they not texting me back as much? Like, why am I I'm looking at the calendar and like, we haven't been on a date in weeks. And like, when was the last time they said they loved me? And I feel like so many guys will do this where like, they want to be a good guy. They don't want to be a bad guy. But instead of like nutting up and doing the hard thing and sitting you down and being like, something shifted, I don't have feelings anymore. They just like slowly take away affection over the course of months. So then that way you turn into this like depressive, paranoid Nancy Drew. And like you have to put together that they don't love you anymore. And then you have to be the one to like start the breakup conversation. And it's like, not only did you stop loving me, but you made me like end us too. Because like you had the answers like 4 months ago and you kept it to yourself.
Yeah. No, I feel like what you're saying is so relatable. I've had a similar breakup where he didn't have the ability, because guys are non-confrontational emotionally a lot of times, not everyone, but a lot of guys. And I think they just want the girl to figure it out and to cut the cord. Like you said, just to maintain like the image of being the good guy.
Like, I don't want to hurt her, so I'll just take the next 5 months of her life and like drive her crazy.
Totally. And then as a woman, you're already sad because your heart is breaking because you're ending a relationship. But then to have to be the person to actually say we're ending, that is just rude of guys. Like I resent that because I've gone through a similar thing too.
Yes.
And you were how old when that happened?
29, same age.
Totally. So I feel like that's also a hard age, not because, okay, by the way, like I don't really care about age. I think people can find love when they're 50, when they're at any age.
Oh yeah, but let's not be honest. Before you turn 30 as a woman, like let's be honest, we're all like, what the hell is going on?
Totally. And you think you found your person and you're turning 29 and you're like, okay, this is like, we're right on schedule. This is my guy. We'll get engaged soon. We'll get married soon, blah, blah, blah. The rest is, kind of a trajectory. And so for that to kind of be taken away, was it fairly traumatic? Or, like talk to me about how you recovered and some of like maybe like the top 3 things in your breakup guide that have helped you to move on.
Yes. Okay. The breakup guide is great because basically I've been dating since I was in 6th grade. So I had heard enough breakup tips and I really took the last breakup to niche down and be like, what is going to work? Like I listened to every podcast on it. And then I told myself, okay, I'll be some sort of like weird brokenhearted guinea pig and I'll try everything out. And then I'll put together a guide of everything that works. And my favorite tip from the guide, because I hate when people are like, take up yoga, go to brunch. I'm like no, like I want things that are actually going to help. And whenever people give like generic advice, I just roll my eyes at it. So the tip I like the most is change your phone case.
Ooh.
And then also change your screensaver.
Wait, I love that. That's so tangible.
Yeah, because
what is the reason though?
So think about it. Like in the last, let's say you dated someone for a year. You don't change your phone case or your wallpaper that much. So over the last year, you've associated these images with every time he FaceTimed you or when you went to go text him or when you got a phone call from him.
Yep.
So then after you go no contact, changing your phone case and your phone wallpaper, it just means that you can pick up your phone and look at it without that like pathway in your brain being like, oh, is he going to text me? Because every time I look at that photo, I usually get a text from him.
Yep.
Or her, whoever.
Yeah, whoever.
But yeah, it's just full of like little tips like that where it's like low effort, it's low cost, but it just like helps you on a level.
I love it. Do you believe in like wiping your social media of that person? So do you delete the pictures? Do you archive them or do you keep them?
I archive them and I tell them as we're breaking up in the conversation, like the past couple breakups I've had, I'm like, I am removing you right now from Instagram, but like, it's not to be petty. It's just because like knowing me, like I would stalk you every day for the next like month if I didn't remove you.
So then do you also block them or how do you refrain? Because I know that you're so good at like finding all this dirt on other people. And so I feel like it must be hard to like refrain from looking into your ex.
Thankfully, a lot of them have private accounts. So that makes it so easy.
So easy.
But one of the other tips in the breakup book is you just, anytime you have the urge to stalk an ex online, you have to say out loud, this will either not interest me or wreck me. Because think about it, right? Like anytime you go to stalk an ex, it's either a picture of like banana pancakes and a sunset. And you're like, well, that's boring. I wish I didn't even check.
Yeah.
Or it's a picture of them and you see like a wisp of hair in the background or they're out with friends and it leaves you devastated.
Totally.
And literally those are your only two options. You're either bored or you're like having anxiety diarrhea. So you have to say out loud what your two choices are. And then you're like, both of these are awful. I'm not even going to do it.
So I'm not going to look.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's actually so true. I mean,
What do you do? I mean, especially with all of these guys you've been dating.
If they're not for me, I'm 31. I'm at a place in my life where I'm like, I'm only moving forward. Like I can mindfully reflect on the relationship, but I'm not going to spend months of time recovering from somebody. I'm going to keep meeting new people. And I used to be the person who would get caught up on one person and be like, they're my soulmate. Like, they'll come back to me. Like, I'm trying to manifest them back into my life.
Don't
like,
even get me started about trying to manifest.
Right?
Yes.
And it's such a woman thing to do, I think. I think we get really attached and we want to, like, make things better.
Yeah.
So, for me, I'm like, it might hurt right now, but I'm going to keep myself booked and busy. I'm not even gonna like look at their page. Like if I find myself looking, I'll block them. I don't care like what I look like to them because what they think of me like no longer interests me. I don't care about what their friends think about me as long as like, I mean, maybe I do to an extent, but I can't control it. And so I just try to control what I can control, which is like where I put my attention and energy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get like a little toxic positivity vibes from myself, where I'm like onward and upward and like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, I'll do that too.
All those things. But those mantras help me. And I'm like, I'm just trying to survive out here.
I get real Khloe Kardashian like privately where like I won't post the quotes, but I'll be on like goodreads.com like looking at quotes. I'm like, that's a good one. That's going to get me through the next hour, you know?
See, but like that's where if you need to share it, you create like close friends. So that like your friends who love you and adore you and won't judge you, they can see like your cheesy quote and they can be like, yeah, Shannon. Yeah. Yes, girl.
I like type it into a Word document. My Word document's like, you're pathetic. I'm like, I know.
Totally.
I know.
Totally. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you more about, you know, you look into blind items, but also now that you're dating, you're single again, what kind of like security checking or cyber stalking do you do when you first meet a guy like on Hinge or like when you're first talking to somebody?
Check.
Yeah, can you tell us more about that? Because I feel like I should have been background checking these men.
Yeah.
And that's why I accidentally dated a guy who was fully in a relationship. And so what do you do?
Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Because the reason I got the background checker app is that back when I lived in San Francisco, I dated a guy who ended up being married.
Which is crazy.
And I remember like me and all my friends were like, this is absolutely insane. And then I started doing some Googling and I'm like, this is insane. And also it happens to more people than you would think.
It's really common.
And it's not like these people are fully pretending to be single.
Mm-hmm.
You're meeting them on dating apps where they're not even pulling the whole like ethically non-monogamous thing.
No.
Like they're saying that they're single.
And they're saying that they're looking for a long-term relationship.
Yes.
Like that was date number 2. It said looking for a relationship, open to kids, all of these things that just
to kids.
That set the scene that I was like, oh, he's ready.
Open
He's
to
ripe
kids with
and ready.
my wife,
yeah,
like
totally. Like with my long-term girlfriend that I'm fully in a relationship with and living with. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I know that you said that you dated a married man. Were there any, like, looking
wait,
back?
you can't say that because I didn't know he was married.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, reframe. So you accidentally...
I mean, it is technically correct.
You accidentally dated a guy who happened to be married, but you didn't know it. So did you... Because I believe in, like, a woman's intuition, but I also believe in being blindsided. Like, I think both do happen. But reflecting back on when you did accidentally when you accidentally did date a married man, did you have any, like, oh, looking back, like, that was a red flag, or that was a gut feeling, or there was an instinct that happened, even if it was ever so slight?
You know what? You know what? Like, because reading some of these stories online about other girls who have dated married men, right? To use the correct terminology. And I remember thinking about this too. Do you remember when Adam Levine cheated on Beati with that girl Sumner?
Yeah.
And I remember making TikTok videos. My friends who knew about my, like, past history were like, LOL, Shannon, like, it's obvious this is personal to you. But everybody was giving her so much grief. They were like, if he lied to you, like, why didn't you check this? Like, why did you believe him? And the thing that stings me is that these guys who are pretending to be single, I don't know why so many people are like, oh, you should have just, like, not believed it. Some of these people are some of the most skilled liars I've ever met in my life, where I look back and I'm like, wow, he consistently lied about a few things, like, time and time again, and it would follow through. It's honestly kind of impressive and a little
scary.
bit freaky.
Yeah, because they look you directly in your eyes. That's what happened with me in date number 2, where I was like, at one point, there was blonde women's extensions in the drawer. There was one piece of jewelry next to the nightstand on the woman's side of the bed. There was a little ring holder, like a woman's jewelry ring holder. Like, everything was pointing
He's
towards...
like, that's a juicer, babe. Don't worry about it.
Just like he had every excuse. And he was saying them so quickly that I was like, oh, it must be true. And finally, though, I did look at him straight in the eyes and I said, tell me the truth. Like, we're not exclusive. Are you dating somebody, or, like, what's going on here? Like, I'm not going to be upset because I'm dating, like, 28 other guys. Well, not 28 other guys, but I'm doing, like, this whole public experiment where I'm dating all these other men very openly. Just tell me the truth. And he just looked at me straight in the eye like I was crazy.
Yes.
And he's like, no, it's just you. I'm just seeing you and I'm committed.
Isn't that wild?
Yes.
Like, I can't even play Uno well because, like, I'm so bad at bluffing. And there are people out here who are able to just, like... So, I mean, anyone listening out there, get yourself a background checker app and don't trust anyone. And you can go in on it with a friend. Sometimes I used to use truthfinder.com. It's like $25 a month. And then you and 5 friends, like, all have the same email account. And just, like, use it for all of your dates. Like... Like, you're out $5 a month? Like, that's so much better than being in a bad situation.
So how many people, okay, at what stage do you background check people, though? Is it like as soon as you match them on Hinge, or, like, what's your process?
Yeah, before we go out on our first date.
Really?
Because since that experience, then I moved to New York, like, maybe like 9 months, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
7 months ago or so. I was talking to this guy, put him in the background checker app. He's married.
Wow.
I know.
How many times has that happened to you, though?
Only once.
Only once?
Since I've been here.
Oh, my God. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
So what is the background checker called, though? What's the specific name of it?
Truthfinder.com. But I think there's better ones out there.
Okay.
So, like, Google around.
And is it like $30 a month, or how much is it?
Yeah, it's like $20, $25.
Okay. I guess it's worth it if you're, like, actually weeding out, like, a married guy. Or as soon as you have a bad gut feeling or something is inconsistent, invest, like, one time and just, like, look into it, I would suggest.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that you look into a lot of celebrities and you kind of commentate on, like, what's happening in the public eye. How public do you think people should be online about their relationships? Like, just, like commoners.
Or...
No, like us, like, normies.
Oh, like regular folks?
Yeah, totally.
I gotta say, I don't have any, like, hard and fast rules for that. And I'm a creep above anything.
Okay.
So I say everybody put it out there.
I
love to watch.
I love to watch it too.
Yeah.
It's so entertaining.
Yeah.
How about personally, though? Do you soft launch? Do you hard launch? Like, how public are you about your relationships? Especially now that you've catapulted as a public figure now.
Yeah, I think now I don't know. I go back and forth. Like last weekend, I was out in Long Island with this guy, and I took a picture of like the scenery.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm out here. Would I come out here alone? But like, I'm not gonna post someone's like hand or face.
Why not?
I don't know. I'm curious how you're gonna play it too, because I remember like back when I was dating my last boyfriend and the podcast was happening, I'd post pictures of us all the time.
Yep.
But then I remember people started to figure out that we had broken up, and there was like a Reddit thread where somebody was like, ooh, do we think they're broken up? And I was like, oh damn, like now I regret posting those photos.
Totally.
But I think creeps should help out other creeps. I think we should just all post everything.
Totally.
Who cares?
Okay, I'm curious about this guy that you're currently seeing. What's the situation?
He's cute. He's really funny.
How'd you guys meet?
I think it was Bumble.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your pickup line?
Something about his dog. He has a dog.
We love a basic pickup line.
Yeah. Can I say something? I hate Bumble. I hate having to talk first.
I do too.
It's just that I've been here for 5
Retweets.
years. I'm like, I've seen everyone on Hinge. I have to get on a new one.
I feel that. I also think that there are hotter men on Bumble.
You think?
I do.
Okay. Maybe. Because if I was a guy, I would live on Bumble. Because it's all just girls like saying hi to you because they have to.
I feel like Tinder, in my mind at least, and like this is again just situational to me, but I feel like in my mind Tinder's more like a hookup app. Bumble's kind of like an intermediate, like not really looking to get married, but like down for maybe something kind of mid-level. And then I feel like Hinge is like where the seriousness is at. Again, these are stereotypes because I met date number 2 on Hinge, so clearly.
What about the League?
I've not ever applied to it. I don't like dating apps where you have to apply, so I'm not on Raya or the League. So I'm like, it's too extra.
For what it's worth, I've seen like my friends Raya's and stuff, and everybody says that you just like look at people, like you rarely meet up. It's just more of like to see who's out there. And
it's also like, isn't there no geographical like
yeah,
parameters?
because they're like, oh, everyone's rich, so you could just fly to see someone.
Totally.
I'm like,
and
okay, well then
that's
I don't
not
belong.
efficient. Yeah, I'm like, I'm sorry, but like that's a waste of my time. And like I could see myself just like looking at all the gorgeous people, but I also don't like to date guys who are like too pretty.
Me too.
Okay, tell me more about that.
I feel insecure.
Same. I think that's it. I think it's like I feel insecure, and I've dated like really good looking guys, and I would rather have a guy who just has like amazing like BDE and swag and like all of that over like being a model, because I don't want him to be more feminine than me.
100%. I just think like I like to be the prettier one.
Thank you.
You know,
yes.
I dated this guy once who his hair was so nice, and I like hated him for it. You know how like a dog has really nice hair, and you're like, why am I jealous of that dog?
Totally.
I was like jealous of my boyfriend's hair. I was like, this feeling sucks.
No, I know. Yeah. I mean, I feel like the comedian was fairly good looking, and I like would catch him like.
I can confidently say you were the better looking one out of that pair, very confidently.
Thank you, babe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, but I would catch him like staring at himself in the mirror sometimes, and I'm like, oh, like that's kind of an ick. But
that's a super ick.
I like to collect. Like, I think I learned this from Tinks or someone, where you like collect little icks along the way just in case. It's like a little bit toxic, but it's like.
Can you tell us more of his icks then?
Okay, so I posted this on Instagram today, but. Essentially, like, one time I was at his place last week for, so I went to his comedy show. Then I, like...
Was that an ick watching it? Like, did he, like, tell a joke and nobody laughed and you were like, ugh?
No, I'm just, like, so supportive when I like somebody. And when I like somebody, I really like them. So they could be, like, flopping on stage. And I'm like, good job, sweetie. Like, I'm like the mom from Mean Girls, where I'm just, like, blindly, like, loyal and happy.
Yeah.
But so he like, I don't think he killed it when I went to his show, but he did fine. And then I went to a business meeting with him after. Like, I was following him around like a groupie, which I hate because I'm not 22-year-old. Like, you know what I mean? Not that saying when you're younger, you shouldn't have self-respect. But I was like, why am I following him around?
It's not, well, it's just that you don't have self-respect
totally.
when you're younger.
When you're younger, you don't.
Yeah.
You learn that as you get older. And then I went to his place in Brooklyn with him after that. And it's like 9 p.m. I have not eaten. And I go, babe, can you order me? Oh my God, sorry. Archie's being so annoying. I'm like, babe, can you order me dinner? Like, I'm really hungry. And he was like, he like picks up his phone and is about to order me something. And then he goes, I'm too busy. I'm not really hungry myself. Maybe you could just order something. I felt like that was an ick. What do you think?
Yeah, then the next time you wanted a blowjob, I would be like, I'm not that horny. Maybe you could jerk off yourself. Like, relationships are a give and take. Like, you know, you want to help the other person out.
Totally. And, like, I just felt like if he's not caretaking, not that he needs to, caretake. I'm not an infant. But you know what I mean? Like, I, like, was basically, like, supporting him all night. And then I asked him to get me dinner. And even if my friend asked me to get them dinner, I would get them dinner.
I think that, oh my God, I think that all the time with replacing friends. Like, my biggest pet peeve is when guys are like, let's hang. When are we hanging? And I'm like, I don't even ask my friends to hang. Even if it's a girlfriend, I'm like, let's get dinner at 7 p.m. at this place. Like, do you want to see this new movie? Like, do you want to try this with me? So I'm like, I wouldn't even do something like that to a friend.
Yep.
So I should be getting at least the same treatment from a guy that I give to that my girlfriends and I give to each other, where it's like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Like, let's go grab drinks at this place.
Totally.
So if not even my friends are like, let's hang. Like,
no,
you don't want it from a guy.
Totally.
They gotta at least do friend stuff. If you tell me what his name is, I would be happy to bring a tomato to his next show.
Will you?
Throw it.
And just happen to wait, by the way, you're trained as a comedian, aren't you?
Not really. I studied at the Second City for 6 months.
Okay.
So I'm more trained in improv. I used to teach improv comedy.
Okay.
Stand up I bombed at.
Why'd you bomb?
Oh, dude, stand up is so hard. It's because the minute you come on stage, you need to have your persona. And, like, your persona is either, like, are you the girl who's going to talk about her vagina? Or, like, are you, like, the guy with the coal mine? Or are you, like, I'm a nerdy guy and, like, you know, whatever.
What was your persona?
That's the thing. Like, I didn't have one. I think I tried to be, like, a nerdy persona. But people looked at me and they're like, okay, you're, like, this blonde white girl. I'm not getting, like, nerdy persona. And I would be doing all these jokes about, like, fan fiction. And, oh, my God, I want to die just thinking about it. It did not. And we had to perform all over Chicago to graduate. And, like, I did not do well.
Oh, my God. What's your number one improv tip?
The classic, got to say yes and. Or I guess I would say listening. So many people don't listen.
Okay.
I say as I, like, keep interrupting you.
No. I love it. Okay, we're circling back. But I did want to ask you because I think it's funny. We were talking about there's, you know, people online who sometimes, like, publicly lose their mind a little bit. So how do you feel about men who share a lot online about, like, their personal lives? Like, is there a double standard there? And, you know, like, what are your thoughts?
I hate it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing more disgusting than a man trying to be an influencer. Anytime I know that a man has, like, set up his camera and then, like, put the self-timer on and then, like, taken a couple steps back and, like, posed or, like, done something and then, like, edited a video of themselves doing something. That's why I'm like, why were all these girls into the guys from, like, the Hype House? Like, to me, that's, like, the most, like, disgusting
Or,
thing.
like, the Bachelor contestants.
Yeah.
Like, or the Bachelorette contestants. Like, I would never be with a guy. Well, actually, as I'm saying that, I dated a few guys from the 28 Day Challenge who were on reality television.
Yeah.
So as I'm saying it, I'm like, wow, I'm not aligned.
But also I'll admit, like, I'm a hypocrite. Like,
a hypocrite, that's the word.
Yeah, I'm a hypocrite.
Okay, so who is, like, your ideal celebrity relationship? Like, who do you aspire to be like? Or who is the best celebrity relationship?
They are few and far between, aren't
you think?
they?
Yeah.
Because I remember Sacha Baron Cohen and the cute girl.
Yeah, the redhead.
Whose name, she's Australian and her name is escaping me right now.
I can't think of it. It's not, she looks like Amy Adams, but it's not Amy Adams.
It's not.
Mm-mm.
Well, everyone knows who we're thinking
yeah,
about.
Exactly. Are they still together?
Well, I remember we did, like, a mini episode on Patreon and, like, he allegedly cheats on her all the time. So I was like, okay, well, there we go. Now, like, who's left?
Who is left?
I love Conan O'Brien, so him and his wife.
How about Barack and Michelle?
Yeah, I like them, but I would just imagine, like, we were talking about how guys in New York are always like, I'm busy, busy, busy. You know,
Barack
like,
is busy.
I just imagine they must have had, like, 4 years of, like, not having sex whatsoever.
Totally.
And that's, like, when your relationship turns into a partnership, it's probably got to be pretty hard. I mean, I still think they're #goals.
Yeah.
But I imagine that for 4 years. And I think, didn't they come out and say, which I thought was pretty awesome, they were like, oh no, like, we did not like each other when we had kids
years.
for a bit.
Yeah. No, and I think that's commendable because I think they're trying to promote people, like, staying together as long as possible and, like, overriding marital problems.
And they did it in a way that wasn't annoying. Because when like, Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard do it, you're like, okay, but, like, you're being kind of annoying somehow. But when they did
they're
it,
preachy. Like, they're high horse preachy, whereas Barack and Michelle are more, like, relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they're
like not relatable, but, like, the way they say it, the way they communicate it is more relatable.
Yeah. Was isn't condescending.
Yeah, which is like when people are condescending, it just goes in one ear out the other. Who is your celebrity crush? Like, if you could manifest actually being with one celebrity, who would it be?
Conan O'Brien.
Why?
I go so nuts for him. I just think he's so funny. He's so smart. He's so humble. He's like self-deprecating.
Yeah.
He's so quick. His humor is so good, and he looks great in like a leather jacket, and I love his hair.
I'm obsessed. So, do you have a type? And if you do, what is it?
Usually short Jewish men.
Really? Are you Jewish?
No.
Do you have like a religious affiliation of any sort?
I grew up Irish Catholic,
okay.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you convert to Judaism for the right man?
Yeah, I considered converting to Judaism not even for a man.
Oh, really? What kind of prompted that?
That's like an hour-long thing,
okay.
But it was just like a lot of my friends. I was like looking into, because I've never really felt something for like a Christianity.
Yeah.
But I love that different aspects. I love the community aspect of Judaism.
Yep.
I love the fact that there's not this like guilt, original sin, like shame aspect that follows you around in Christianity. So it just kind of felt like a better version of Christianity to me.
Totally. That's interesting. We're like two white girls talking about Judaism, but like I do like the Shabbat dinner. I like the Friday like dinner where everyone comes together. I think it's really nice.
I'd say probably about like 90% of all my friends in New York are Jewish too. So
okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean New York has a ton of Jewish people, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Are you dating for marriage right now?
It's hard because I'm moving to Denver in like 6 weeks. So it's hard to right now. But I am dating someone that I like. And we are like, maybe you'd visit me in Denver. So it's actually kind of more fun to date this way. Because it's all about just if you like the person rather than like, are they a good husband? Will they be a good father?
Totally. It's like, it's way less pressure, I would say. Like you're just enjoying your time. You're in the moment.
Yeah.
Which it's important to be in the moment while you're dating. Like regardless what your intentions are.
But you're dating for marriage, right?
I am dating for marriage, but I feel like I just read the rules book and it's like you need to be like a little less direct. And so I'm trying to wrestle with that a little bit.
The rules, though, have you ever like read too much of that like divine feminine stuff and then you had a total breakdown? Like I went through a moment years ago where I was like, wow, I need to be like have the biggest boobs possible and shut the fuck up. And then I was like, okay, this probably isn't great for my mental health. I should like watch like Little Woman or like read a Nancy Drew book or just
1000%.
Yeah.
No, that's so funny. Those divine feminine or those high quality woman or
high value
I'm
gonna throw myself off the building. Yeah,
totally. And I'm like, am I a high like I'm like, no, Martin, like don't even go there. Like you're great, who cares?
It's such, and I think it appears all over TikTok. I think it's really doing a number on people's self-esteem.
Totally.
And it's weird how it's like woman on woman crime basically.
It is
because it's like other girls being like, are you a high value? It's like, can we just shut up? Like everybody shut up.
And who talks like that? Like in real life, like in day-to-day conversations, people do not talk like that. It's like these people who get in front of their like little video camera or whatever, their phones, and they're just like 3 ways to be a high value woman.
And they tie everything into it too. They'll be like, oh, like my shoelace like came undone, but I received, like him tying my shoe for me. So I was like in my soft era
to receiving.
So what the hell's going on?
I know. Okay. What do you think of Andrew Tate?
I hate him so much. It makes me like it twists my stomach in knots.
Totally.
And my last ex-boyfriend started watching him at the end of our relationship.
Oh my God.
More guys watch him than you would think. And they're always like, not everything, like, of course, everything, like, what he says is crazy, but a few things make sense.
I know.
You're really going to white knight he's
for
a
him.
sexual trafficker. Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
I know. I had a video where I was doing my 28 date challenge and someone was like, where's Andrew Tate? And then someone else commented, prison.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, he's in prison for a reason. Like,
isn't that wild? We did a whole episode on him and his trafficking with the cam girls. He's like disgusting.
Yeah, you guys should go check out that episode. I actually just listened to it. It was really good. Yeah. Okay, so I want to ask you some listener questions quick before we end. The first one is, how do you deal with hate?
Poorly.
Really? Wait, say more.
It depends. Do
you get a lot?
No, it goes up and down. I think it's just a lot of us, like our phone, we don't think consciously about how we use our phones and stuff. And for me, like I used to check my podcast reviews every morning, but now I only do it once a week and I pick it like after I've had a good meal, like when I'm mentally clear. And I think a lot of us just like when we wake up, right, like we look at our phones and something on Twitter pisses us off, but we don't think about it. We just keep scrolling, and then before you know it, you're in like the worst mood ever.
Totally. I mean, that's an honest answer. I
remember when I met
it.
you said you have a thick skin. I'm very jealous of that.
Yeah, I mean, I have to because like, especially because I'm a dating influencer, it's like people want to pick apart like my looks, or they want to pick apart like my value, and it's like I'm not a dog or like a cow or like, you know, like a piece of property or like the latest iPhone. Like I'm a person, and like
Yeah.
there's more to everyone than their appearance. The craziest thing you've done for a potential partner.
Oh my God. I remember I dated this girl in Florida, and then I moved to San Francisco.
Okay.
And she was a musician, so she was in LA for like a couple weeks working on her music. And I remember I was at like a friend's party, but I wasn't like drinking. I was just like there over in like Oakland or something.
Yep.
And we just like really wanted to see each other.
Yeah.
Like just in the way that anyway. And I remember we both like took Adderall and rented a car and just like drove 4 hours straight to like meet in a hotel.
Oh my God.
And then bang and then drive back. So it's not as romantic as you would think.
Wait, no, that's so romantic.
You think?
I actually like that a lot. I'm a Scorpio, so I'm kind of like, yeah, anything for love, anything for the one I love.
Yeah.
That kind of leads into the next question, which is, does she believe in astrology, and to what extent? Or is there an extent?
I think it's fun. I think when you have a crush on someone and you're in that stupid phase where all you can do is like bring them up in conversation, it's fun to pour through their horoscope and then hurt your own feelings when some stupid website is like, you're not a
compatible.
good fit for marriage. You're like, I'm going to burn this website to the ground.
Does that mess with you, do you think, when it says that you're not compatible? Because that's happened to me with a few exes where like I'm like, this must be the love of my life. And then
I just
like
go to a different website. I keep clicking until I find one that says we're compatible, and I'm like, that's the right website, huh?
So is that a thing though? You keep clicking and eventually you find one that's like you're meant to be?
I think so. Or you know what? Go on Reddit, because everyone's always crazy on there. There's all these posts where it's like, if he's like a Taurus man and I'm like a Libra woman, is it going to work? And then you scroll through enough comments until all the way at the bottom, one person's like, that's me and my husband and we worked. And then you're like, there we go. Works for me.
That's hilarious. I love that. Do you have any tattoos?
Oh, I have one. It's so tiny though. It's just like 3 lines. People don't even notice it.
What does it mean?
It's 3 lines of 3 different levels. My best friend Bridget, she said that we were so close because we could talk about anything at any level. So like,
I love that.
The Kardashians, the meaning of life, what your childhood was like, what your favorite smell is. So I like when you meet someone you really like, you can talk about anything at any level.
Do you have a rule about talking about the Kardashians? And if so, why?
I try not to talk about them. I just think they're just not great. It really bothers me how they lie to the public about certain things. And if you're going to lie about something, right, like Bella Hadid lying about her cosmetic surgery.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But they lie about things and then ask you to buy money off of it. So Kylie lying about her lips and then selling a lip kit. Or like Chloe lying about her plastic surgery and then selling like the body revenge workout thing. I'm like, that's so insidious to like lie to people, make them feel bad about how they look, and then sell them one of your shitty products. Like to me, that's just like so nasty. And even me, like people pay $5 a month like on Patreon for 4 extra episodes. You better believe I put like my heart and soul into that. And it's just crazy to me that like there could be people out there who are billionaires and they're like, why don't I lie about something and make people feel bad about themselves and then sell them a product to try to make them feel better? And it's like, oh God, that's sick.
Yeah. Okay, we already talked about your type. You said short Jewish man, right?
Yeah, usually. Not the current guy, but
what's the current guy like? Is he tall?
Yeah, he's a tall brunette.
Ooh. And how short are you?
I'm 5'3".
So do tall girls get mad at you when you date tall men?
That's
you're
the thing.
So short?
I usually don't. I usually date 5'7" men.
So you like a short king?
To me, they're not short. I'm like, they're taller than me.
Oh, true. Yeah. So your thoughts on getting pregnant? It's so scary, and your nipple can fall off. That's like such a specific. Is this something you talk about a lot?
No.
Okay.
And I didn't know that your nipple could fall off.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's true. No one talks about shit when it comes to women and like their bodies and like what they go through. And like I think it's messed up that women have to go back to work so soon. Like I could go on a tangent about all of that.
Yeah.
It says, how was her first queer relationship and how she survived that heartbreak?
Oh God, it is your first queer relationship ending is like it's so much harder than it is with like a straight
Why?
relationship. I think there's just more feelings involved too, because like you love that person, but because I think, you know, just growing up as a woman, like you're also like a little bit sometimes like envious of them and they're your friend. Or then also too, when you see them with like a new girl, is that a friend or is that someone you're dating? Like you don't know. And it's just I don't know. Also girls, like they just smell so nice. Like they look so, like there's just so many I don't know. And I feel like guys are kind of like, you're like, ah, it's like a guy. But a woman is like so complex and like you know everything about them. I don't know how really to describe it, but it is, in my opinion, a lot harder to get over a girl than a guy.
Really?
Yeah.
How many queer relationships have you had?
Probably 3.
Okay.
Like serious ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you equally open to ending up with a woman as you are as a man? Or like, do you, in your mind, have you thought about like who you want to OTP with, which is one true pair?
For me, it's just whoever I meet. But typically, like, if I meet like 1,000 guys, I'll find, I don't know, like 400 of them attractive, just like throwing out numbers. But if I meet like 1,000 girls, I'll be like really into 2 of them. So it's more rare.
It's a smaller sample size.
But when it happens, I feel the same feelings.
Interesting. I love that. Okay. Her thoughts on long distance. Do you do long distance? I mean, you're maybe like
about to be. I don't know. I feel like it never works, but then damn it, you just love someone, so you try to make it work. I don't know.
Totally. And then the final question, I'm going to ask one final listener question, and then I have my own question. What are your opinions and ratings on all the cities that you've lived in? So, like, you're originally from California?
I grew up in Jersey.
Oh, yeah, Jersey. Okay.
And then we lived briefly in Ireland and New Zealand. 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Houston, 8 out of 10. Chicago, 7 out of 10.
Yep.
St. Petersburg, Florida, 10 out of 10. Tampa, Florida, 4 out of 10.
Okay.
San Francisco, 0 out of 10. I did not like it there.
Really?
New York, 9 out of 10.
So what city is the best for finding a partner, though, do you think? Like, the best city for dating?
As like a straight woman looking for like a straight man?
I would say maybe you can speak to both.
New York. I think New York is the best for dating. There's just so many different people here.
So many options, and people are high energy and just like a high caliber of human.
Yeah, and people are so used to dating too. Like it really is just like a muscle that you work, and I feel like everybody here just goes on dates, whereas my friends in other cities go on like one date every 2 weeks.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's not crazy. It's just a smaller dating pool. There's less opportunity and people get married faster. And so there's probably less people to...
Well, my friends who come visit me from all these other cities, they'll like be on the apps in New York and they're like, there's so many people here. It's just easier because there's so many freaking people
in such a small square footage.
When I was down in Tampa, I was like, oh God, like I ran out of people on the first day.
Oh no. I feel like that would happen to me. Like that's why I better stay here. Because like even like looking at my journey, people are like, wow, you went on like how many dates and like you're still single, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fully aware, by the way. Like I'm like, I thought I was gonna have a boyfriend, and then I ended up breaking up with the comedian, and like it went a very different direction pretty quickly. But I mean, thankfully we're in New York City and there's like a million more men to meet.
And I just love like it just takes one. Like you don't need to have 50 good dates, you just need to have one.
That's so true. It just takes one. And like that's why people shouldn't settle, because it's like, if you're going to really commit to somebody, you do not want to commit to somebody who you're like lukewarm about.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question. So I told Lindsay this already. I'm like, I'm copying you. And she's like, it's fine. But what is one piece of advice you would give people just specific to dating or life?
To dating.
A mantra that you have, or just like a piece of advice that's kind of been your North Star that's helped you kind of navigate?
For me, it's just like sometimes you don't want to go on a date, right? Sometimes you're like, I just want to order. Like, I don't want to go on this date. I'm not in the mood. I always try to reframe that as like you're learning something from someone. Or if you're on a date, like I do this sometimes, you know, because guys love to give business advice or whatever. Totally. I'll just ask them questions that I use them like Google or Chat GPT.
Yes.
I'll be like, oh, like if the date's going bad, just be like, I'm having like a problem with a coworker. Can you help me figure it out?
Totally.
Because guys love to problem solve. So if you got to kill half an hour before he finishes his drink, just ask them to solve some problems for you.
I love it.
And then that way you at least get some answers out of it instead of having to like smile and like ask questions. Just like you wring them out like a rag.
You might as well, because like I think that's my perspective of dating too, where it's like, even if it's not the love of my life, I'm not gonna see it as time wasted, because either I'm becoming better at dating, you know, like I'm becoming funnier or more articulate because we're having like these conversations, or I'm learning something from him. And I think that's a really good perspective. Can you plug all of your stuff so people can find you? I'm obsessed. Like I just found out about you like a week ago, and I think I've binged half of your stuff because it's so entertaining. So please plug away.
We're just at Fluently Forward. We're a podcast found everywhere. And, you know, we're on social media too, but the podcast is really where it's at. We do episodes Monday, Wednesday, and then on Patreon, we do episodes on Friday.
Cool. Thanks again, Shannon.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Thanks again to our sponsor, First Rounds on Me. If you're tired of endless small talk with an overwhelming number of pen pals, go download First Rounds on Me now and get yourself a real date.